Hello. Howdy, everybody. How are we doing this week? We are here and we are live with the Ferret 64 live show. And we got quite the episode for you today. And I say that with no irony in my voice whatsoever. Uh, this week was a bit light, I will say, not just for news, but also for games I was playing. So it's probably going to be a bit of a shorter episode, as sometimes they are, because not every week is going to be the complete banger that we've had for the past couple of weeks with long topics and fun new things to talk about. But on the docket today, we have the Xbox and PSN outages from this past week. Double Fine, they're independent now, and they had to lay some people off. A record player being put out there by Sony has stirred up some controversy. God of War Laufey has a release date. Kingdom Come's next game has been leaked. PlayStation Plus games for August have been announced. I played more Black Flag and also have some first impressions of a game called DinoBlade. Wow. Wowza. We're here. So yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show as we boot up our first topic for today, which is the outages. PSN and the Xbox services were both down this past week, which is pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy indeed. So the PSN outage lasted for about 6 hours. It all started with a couple of things like shutting down incrementally. Now, of course, this did not affect everyone, but a broad area of the United States and also into the UK. Sony services were being affected. So you could not download games from the internet. You could not connect to the PlayStation services. You couldn't play multiplayer or anything network related. And also things like the PlayStation app itself on your cell phone was not working either, which is pretty big. This was all caused by Amazon Web Services, which powers a lot of the PlayStation Network. Essentially, was not doing too hot. It was having some problems. So PlayStation, of course, came out with a statement a couple hours after the problem had started and said, as routes continue to be restored, customers should see a continued reduction in error rates and timeouts when connecting to affected services. We are monitoring recovery progress closely and will continue working until all routes have been fully restored and service metrics return to pre-event levels. We will provide another update within the next 30 to 45 minutes. I love that wording. Pre-event. Ooh, pre-event. Sounds like a Avengers type threat there. So by the time the same day around 6 o'clock, seemed like everything was back to normal. The services were back up and running. Fantastic. Now, of course, this comes at a very inopportune time for PlayStation, because right now they're moving towards a mostly, if not entirely, digital side of things. They are taking away disc manufacturing within the next couple years, and I had to take a sip of water. And they're trying to make everything go digital only with games and movies and TV shows and apps and blah 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 blah. We already have pretty much confirmation that the PlayStation 6 will be a discless console. Now, will it be a cartridge console like the PS Vita? Probably not. But one could dream that they're just changing formats. One could dream. Once again, this is like a real ill-timed thing, because Sony has still been getting plenty of comments about the fact that yes, you are going digital only, and this is a This is a problem with a digital only platform, is the fact that, like, hey, if the servers go down, you won't be able to even maybe possibly even access your account at some point, and you won't be able to play the games that you bought on your account. And of course, these are things that can happen nowadays as well. If your license gets revoked, you get banned on PlayStation, you won't be able to access the content you bought. Obviously, there are still ways that this could happen, but in an all digital environment, even minor things, quote unquote minor things, like this can affect the way that you play games. You just won't be able to play a game for however long the services are down for. And this was also a pretty bad timing because of the fact that Marvel Token Fighters was having a beta test or an alpha test, whatever it was called, during this outage, which obviously was not great. Now you might be thinking, well, did Marvel Token Fighters shut down this? No. It was definitely something going with Amazon servers. But this is one of those things that's just like, this is maybe something that's going to be more of a reality moving forward. Is we're going to be getting more stuff like this where you're just gonna turn on your PlayStation and all of a sudden you can't play any of your games. The nice thing about, at least about the PlayStation 4 and 5, is the fact that, like, we do still have discs. And obviously, once the game is downloaded onto your console, you should be able to play it, right? But also, if you have the disc for it, and if the game is entirely on that disc, then this doesn't even matter. You can just put the disc in, and boom, bada bing, you're good to go. But for someone who can't access their account, for someone who wants to download the latest and greatest game that day that the servers are down, you're just SOL. And same thing for if you are more of a multiplayer fan, like you're playing Warzone, you're playing Fortnite, or you're playing whatever, and those are the games that you have downloaded because those are the games that you enjoy. Guess what? You want to play Apex Legends today? Sorry, can't do that because servers are down. And once again, this does happen to this day, like just present day. But at the same time, you have options. And even if you are someone who only plays Fortnite, there's a high probability that you have another game in your collection that you can pop in that has a disc and play. And of course, that doesn't go for everyone. Of course, that doesn't go for everyone. But just saying. So at the same time, not the same time, but probably about a day ago now, Xbox had a bit of a similar issue with one of the platforms that host their online servers. Now, once again, this is not something that affected everyone, right? No, so it wasn't like super widespread, but for about 20 hours, starting on July 28th, servers went down, and Xbox did have to post a couple of statements on their social media accounts. One of them reads as follows: late last night, a licensing service that sits outside of Xbox, but which Xbox depends upon, began failing. This caused some sign-in scenarios to fail, and it caused many scenarios that require an entitlement check to also fail, such as listing out your full library and launching games that you own. It also affected several of our publishing and store partners who depend on those systems, which is why some of you saw issues in specific games and not others. They continue to say, we're running a full post-incident review. I care less about the one-time root cause and more about the real questions. Why a failure in one service was able to take down this much. Why recovery took as long as it did. And what we changed so a single point of failure can't ruin your night again. That means hardening the dependencies underneath sign-in and game launch, improving how we detect and contain this class of failure, and being faster and clearer with you when something breaks. If you are an Xbox fan, you are an Xbox gamer, and maybe that's the only platform you have, then if you were affected by this, that's a full day of not being able to turn on your Xbox. And of course, some people might say, well, you can touch grass today then. And it's like, okay, sure, you can go outside, have a walk, maybe read something, I don't know, do whatever. But at the same time, some people maybe Wednesday or Tuesday is your day to chill out in game. Maybe it's the day that you have that you're free to play something. Maybe during this time that the servers were down was your time that your family allots to let you play something on your own. Or maybe it's when your child is down for a nap. Maybe it's when everyone's out of the house because they went to the gym class or something like that, right? Just something in general where it's like, okay, it's my time to relax, do my hobby with no distractions, and boom, you try and use your Xbox, and Fortnite's not showing up in the list of games I own. I can't download Fortnite, I can't play Fortnite, so that ruins your night. Obviously, these are examples. It's like I said, not everyone's going to have the same thing here, but once again, this is just a symptom of like, hey, if we're moving to an all digital landscape, which should not be happening first and foremost, but if we are moving towards that direction, then these are the things that are going to happen when you are hosting a platform like this. And of course, Xbox is being pretty transparent here, which I do appreciate, much like their new logo is very transparent. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but you also see the fault here. And some people were saying, oh, it must be because of that new disc to digital system that they're installing. I don't think it is. I think it is something similar to the Amazon hosting service that PlayStation uses, where that service just kind of went down or had problems, and it just needed to boot back up. But in this case, like, you're not able to sign in, you're not able to view your library, you're not able to launch digital games and sometimes even physical games because you can't verify the license that you're using. Like, this is stuff that needs to be addressed before we move over to, if I don't want it to happen, but before we move over to a full digital landscape, these are things that need to be addressed, because if I for whatever reason, if I have an Xbox Helix in the future for whatever reason, right, and I turn it on and I go, wow, I really want to play Halo 7 today. Or maybe it is, it's the new launch of Gears of War 7 or whatever number they're on, right? I really want to play that today, and you can't log on, you can't connect to services, blah blah blah. Yeah, your night's going to be a little bit ruined. Maybe even possibly your day is going to be a little bit ruined. And once again, like I said, it's an extreme example, but let's say that is my time to play. Let's say I'm in the mood. I want to play something and I can't log into my Xbox, or I can't play games on PlayStation or whatever. Obviously, I have a lot of options, but at the same time, like, if that's what I want to do right now, kind of sucks. So like I said, though, it is nice that they're being transparent. It is nice that they are going to hopefully add in some redundancies for this sort of thing, and make sure that this doesn't happen in the future. But to everyone who's like, well, who really cares about physical games? Well, it's like, oh, here's an example right here of like, hey, if I threw in the latest and greatest copy of Mouse PI for Hire physically into my PlayStation or Xbox at this moment, well, I guess the Xbox is maybe a bit of a different thing because it said physical games were not being able to be launched either. But I throw that in the PlayStation, I'm good to go. I don't even need to update the game. I can just launch it. Or let's say let's say the Nintendo servers are down. Like, I can still throw Splatoon Raiders in, or Donkey Kong, or Mario Kart, or whatever. Like, I won't be able to access the online features, but I can at least launch the games and get them going and play something there, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. As of right now, both services are back up and running, and hopefully, this doesn't happen in this way again. But knowing PlayStation, it's definitely going to happen. They're probably going to get hacked again. And then Xbox, I mean, I don't usually hear too many bad things about Xbox's servers, but it sounds like they're on top of it. So we will see in the future what that all entails, what they're going to do to fix this problem. But as of right now, just something to keep your eye on. Well, let's move on. Okay, so if you don't recall, Double Fine, they went independent. Well, they were kind of forced to go independent, of course. And in this case, some unfortunate news out of there is that 23 of the people who are a part of Double Fine had to be laid off. This was to help the team to survive while working on their next game. Now, there's always some funny little goofy discourse around these things. People saying like, "Oh, look at that, layoffs inside your favorite studio." And aren't you going to chastise them? Aren't you going to criticize them? It's like, well, no, because this is Xbox's fault. Xbox was the ones who cut the team from their studio list and forced them to go independent. And obviously, they didn't get anyone to buy the studio, so it's not like anyone else is funding the game, right? Any games that they're making right now. So yeah, I mean, this is once again still Xbox's fault in the grand scheme of things. So if you're going to blame anyone, it is definitely to blame Xbox. Now, the one thing I want to say that maybe this is a bit meta because, I'm talking about getting news articles here. When this news broke and I went to the PureXbox.com website, I was a little bit disappointed to see that the Double Fine news wasn't there. And this news happened. Where's the PlayStation 1? The news happened on the 28th, which was yesterday. So Pure Xbox waited an entire day to post about the layoffs at the studio, which I thought was, I mean, at first I thought that they weren't going to talk about it at all and just ignore it, which generally would be worse. But I mean, to take an entire day to post an article about this, an Xbox studio that went private, that went independent, and was forced out by Xbox. It just seems a little bit weird that they waited so long to do an article on this. But let's get back to the statement from the developers. This was posted on their Blue Sky and other platforms as well. But they said, today, Double Fine Productions let go of 23 members of our staff. As a small, tightly knit team, these actions are not taken lightly. Only the survival of our studio would ever make us consider such a painful action. Our transition to becoming an independent company also means becoming a size that we can sustain. The people we are losing were all important. They all made an impact on our games and culture, and they will be missed. We are committed to supporting each affected person as best as we can, and we thank them for their hard work and commitment to the creative spirit we cherish here at Double Fine. This comes directly from Tim Schafer, the head of Double Fine. So yeah, it's unfortunate because I kind of figured that this was going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if the other studios that were cut by Xbox who didn't get picked up by other studios or publishers also have to go through similar things. Because at the end of the day, the game development is pretty pricey. I mean, even for an independent studio, like, yeah, you could make a game for, you can make a game in your home office and you can develop it all yourself. But the amount of time you have to put into that, the amount of resources and stuff like that, even if you're not being paid for working on the game, like, it's still a lot of time sunk into things. And when you look at an indie developer like Double Fine, going from probably about 50 to maybe even closer to 100 members of their staff, and then having to just choose who to keep. When they were taken, ripped apart from Xbox, it's just a really difficult situation for everyone. So once again, I don't blame Tim Schafer or Double Fine. This is definitely a symptom of being cut from Microsoft's teams, Xbox Studios, and we'll see if anything else happens in the near future. But yeah, just unfortunate news there. And also, like, I gotta shame, like, even though I like Pure Xbox in general, I gotta shame them a little bit. You waited an entire day to post about this. Not the best look for an Xbox website, in my opinion, because I feel like at the end of the day, even if your content is Xbox exclusive or PlayStation or Switch, you gotta roll with the good and the bad news. When the discless stuff was coming up for PlayStation, those articles from Push Square were coming pretty rapidly after, with every single news bit. So it is a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, not a huge disappointment, but it is a bit of a disappointment that Pure Xbox did not immediately report on this when the news came out. So yeah, just a little bit of thing there. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and move over to some more news. All right, so PlayStation, aka Sony, and controversy. Name a better combo at this point. So a funny thing happened. Now I am a collector of vinyl, aka records. More, I guess people prefer the term records. I use them interchangeably. It doesn't really matter that much. And I do need an upgrade of a record player for sure. And when this popped up, the Sony Turntable, I was like, oh, that could be kind of nice to upgrade my system. Get something new and fresh on my shelf, as opposed to the one that my grandfather gave me that he still uses AV cables to pump out sound. But a funny thing started to happen under the post for the PlayStation Turntable. I guess I'll read the initial post here. It says, rediscover the warmth, detail, and ritual of vinyl with the LX3 turntable. Drop the needle, press play, enjoy music the way it was meant to be heard. Time to upgrade. And this thing it's not cheap, but it's also not like super expensive either. It's $350 on sale, $500 of course if you don't get it on sale. I think in general it's a nice looking record player, maybe a bit too square for my liking. But the main thing here is the fact that, like, yeah, you just went through this whole thing of like, oh, digital is on its way out, or I'm sorry, physical media is on its way out, and people don't do physical media anymore, and all these people were, clamoring to really tell you that Sony was in the right here. So after this post was this was posted. One of my favorite replies here, which was highlighted by Push Square, comes from someone named at Does It Play One on Twitter, and they said, somebody tell these guys at PlayStation apparently physical media is not worth supporting even if it's a small niche. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Apparently, physical media is worth supporting even if it's a small niche. PS games are much bigger than vinyl, yet for some reason they feel the need to kill gaming culture for profit. Shame. I will say there's probably a bit of a difference between vinyl collectors and video game collectors. There's a little bit of a difference, right? A lot of people prefer the sound of vinyl over something like a CD or streaming services, right? Me personally, I don't hear too much of a difference. Like, there is a difference for sure, but for me personally, the differences are not super staggering. So I'll still listen to things digitally, through Spotify or YouTube or whatever. And for games, it is a bit of a different conversation, but the parallel here is hard to ignore, where it's like, how like in the music industry, how many sales go towards records, cassette tapes, CDs at this point? And it's not a huge number, but they're still there, right? You have cassettes being sold regularly, you have CDs that are available for people, and of course you have records/vinyl that's been available forever at this point. And the resurgence of all three of those different mediums is something that needs to be looked at, because CDs made a comeback. There's CDs available all over the place now. Cassettes had a comeback, especially with the kids who were born in the 90s. I own 3 cassettes myself. Records came back in a big way. Like, records used to be like, oh, $10 for Pink Floyd's the fucking Wall, or $20 for a brand new copy of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It's like these things don't go for those prices anymore, because the record world has blossomed. It's bloomed. People want to listen to things on record because it's a fun way to do it. It is niche, yes, and not everyone's going to do it. Like, this is something that's definitely going to be like maybe a 5% sale profit margin. But at the end of the day, there are people who want these platforms, and they're still readily available. I made this comparison back when this all was going on. Was like, yes, you can compare music to video games because there is a similarity here. Video game culture, okay, there's people who are only digital, and they swear by digital. But then there's also people who collect and play physical games. Okay, there are two different things there, and also like the ability to have the choice is more of my problem with that. You're eliminating my choice there. For music, you have the option to stream it. You have the option to watch the YouTube video on YouTube, right? You have the option to buy it on vinyl, buy it on CD, buy it on multiple different platforms like Amazon Music and stuff like that. You can buy stuff on those services, Apple Music as well. And then, of course, you have cassettes and records. I mean, that's like so many different places that you can not only hear the music, but purchase the music as well if you want to purchase it. A lot of people don't even purchase music anymore. Back in the day, you would go onto Apple Music or Spotify. Not really Spotify, I guess, but you go to Apple Music. You would go to any of those platforms that sell music on them, and you would buy a song or you would buy a ringtone or whatever, right, for like $3 a pop. But now, you got Spotify, you got YouTube, you got Apple. These platforms allow you to just kind of listen to the music, and of course there is like a premium fee that you can, so you don't have to like force yourself to shuffle songs or whatever. You can actually listen to music that you want to listen to in order. But all that being said, like the choices are there, and it is a little bit funny that Sony, in their infinite wisdom, is like, and here is our new vinyl record player for the people who just love listening to vinyl, the way it was meant to be heard. Don't forget those words right there. The way it was meant to be heard, which it is a bit funny. Now I'm gonna take a bit of a chance here. I'm gonna go to Twitter and scroll through here. We have a Pragmata thing here. There's another fuck Sony with the video games there. This guy says, the irony and audacity, Sony does not know how to read the room regardless of their customers, which is pretty funny. For the players meme, someone saying, are you kidding me? Right. So yeah, it is a theme here that anytime that PlayStation posts anything now on social media, it does get a large number of people complaining about, rightfully complaining. I don't want to do it in a negative way. Rightfully complaining about the fact that they are taking away this choice of having physical media. And look, the argument of like, oh, discs are practically digital anyway because it's just a license key or an unlock code. Like, that's besides the point. You still have the option. And also, like, think of all the indie games out there. Think of all the physical publishers out there who put out physical discs, limited runs, super rare games, blah, blah, blah. The PS6, possibly the Xbox, won't even have the option. They'll be stuck with just Switch, which, out of all the platforms, is probably the easiest one to get your games onto physically. But at the same time, you're removing a large swath of buying potential from those companies. And I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of those companies or multiple companies join together to try and get this reversed in court or something like that, because this is really eating into their profit margin and causing PlayStation to have and Xbox to have a bit of monopolies over what can be put onto their consoles. So yeah, just a quick aside there. Like I love vinyl. I mean, I do have CDs and cassettes still. I don't listen to them because I don't have a player for those right now. But vinyl is just so nice to like sit down and listen to an album all the way through. I'm a very big proponent of listening from the start to the finish of an album. I don't shuffle a lot in when I listen to music. Which is, I mean, probably a bit of a unique thing for me personally. But the only time that I'm really shuffling in any way is when I make playlists, and even then, I curate those playlists in specific orders for me to listen to. So I'm huge on stuff like this, where you listen from start to finish, and you listen to those songs that maybe you wouldn't normally listen to if you're maybe it's the interlude that you skip. While you're listening to it digitally. Well, now it's like it's on vinyl and you're just kind of listening to it. And maybe it sounds a little bit different to you because it's an interlude that's on vinyl instead of being on digital. I don't know. But there's something very nice and unique about this. And losing that physical side in the video game realm it's not good. That's not good. For lack of a better way of saying it, it's just not good. So yeah, the tone deaf Sony just kind of taking L's left and right at this point. But yeah, there you go. All right, let's move on to the next thingamajiggy. Okay, God of War Laufey got a release date, and it's closer than you may think. Now, I forget what month I specifically said that this was going to be releasing in. I'm pretty sure I said March, which isn't too far off. This game is coming in February. Pretty much like the middle of February here, February 16th, in 2027. The trailer that they showed off, it doesn't really have anything. It's just like the emblem for the game materializes out of magic air, and then it says God of War Laufey 02/16/27, and the music swells. So yeah, it's a lot closer than a lot of people were thinking, but I was kind of in that sweet spot. I kind of figured that it is technically, I guess, like a spin-off of God of War, even though it is a part of the main canon. Sony also practically confirmed that there is going to be a new Kratos-led God of War game that takes place after God of War Laufey. So that's probably going to release on the PS6 at some point in the future. We still don't have any information on when the God of War trilogy games are coming around, but God of War Laufey, obviously, it is the starting punch for PlayStation, and they possibly might have pushed this game forward a little bit because of all the controversy swirling around. They wanted some good press to mix in with the bad stuff. I don't think this is going to fix that per se, but it is nice to have a release date, a confirmed release date for the game. And I cannot wait to see more about this. Now, I don't want to see too much though, because I would like to get some surprises in there, of course. But the game, from what they showed off at the PlayStation Direct, it's looking very good, and I certainly cannot wait to try this game out. And that also opens up the door for like, okay, what's Sony doing for the rest of the year? I'm going to still stick with the fact that the Until Dawn 2 is probably going to come out in the summertime, and then we'll possibly get maybe if we're not going to get a release for the Heretic Prophet, I would think that we're going to get like some sort of big direct type thing for the Heretic Prophet event, somewhere along the way next year, and then possibly at the end of the year they'll release it in like that October, November timeframe, or we'll get something different that we didn't expect. But yeah, I mean, Sony's years, like game releases, are always interesting to look at, because this year we had Marathon in that February-March slot. We had Sorrows in like the what year? What month did that come out? Like June, something like that. May, June. And we're getting Wolverine in September. And we're also getting the Ratchet and Clank mobile game soon. So their year has been planned out here pretty nicely to keep consistently releasing games. So it's going to be interesting to see how their release schedule next year looks, and if it really is the final full year of the PlayStation 5, it'll be interesting to see if they start really pushing for the exclusives for the PS6 right away, or if they're going to try and do a little bit of that, some games come to PS5 and PS6, some games just being PS6 exclusives. I do feel like if they release the next God of War game as like a launch title for the PS6, I feel like it will have cross-gen compatibility, or it will be a cross-gen game, because Sony is planning on keeping the disc production until I think they said 2028. So if the PS6 does come out, or is at least announced in 2027, we can possibly expect it to come out in 2028 at that point, which is still within the time frame of a disc release. Now, my suggestion, which is not something that I think they should do, but my suggestion is to go the Nintendo Switch 1 versus Switch 2 route, where you have like a year of support still for the PS5, but then you move away from it. And of course, that's been the big thing about the PS4 and PS5 generation and the Xbox One and Series X generations is the fact that there are so many games that are cross-platform, especially from the AAA studios themselves, that a lot of people didn't feel the need to buy a PS5. And of course, now that people maybe want to buy a PS5 for games like Soros or Ghost of Yotei or whatever, the prices on those consoles have inflated so much that it's almost out of reach for a lot of regular gamers. So you take a bit of a risk by waiting, but also it's like understandable because it's like not everyone has $700 to throw down on a new console. Plus, you have to buy games. Plus, if you want to buy an extra controller because you have a partner or a family member or someone who wants to play things with you. Plus, you have to pay for the online services every year or every month, depending on what you want to do. Like, yeah, gaming is, like I said before, and I will reiterate this as many times as I can, but gaming is starting to pretty much be exclusively for the most rich people in society. Like, yeah, do I have disposable income? Yes, I do. Do I have $1,000 worth of disposable income to buy a Steam box or whatever? No, I'm not going to do that. That is a waste of money in my opinion. Do I have $1,000 to lay down on a PS6? Well, if I save up enough money, yes, but not like right now. If they release the PS6 today, I would not do it. Same thing with Project Helix. Same thing with any new version. If the Switch 2 gets a new version that comes out, like I'm not going to be dropping however much money they want for that. And the reason for that is like, yes, I do have disposable income, but gaming isn't the only thing that I care about. And also, like, I do still need to eat and pay mortgage. So it's getting a bit ridiculous. And I understand that a lot of these companies are taking hits. Xbox is still losing like 130 something dollars even after the price increase on their consoles, and it's like, well, I mean, we can blame AI for that. We can blame data centers and stuff like that. There's a lot of people to blame here. Like, I'm not specifically blaming PlayStation and Xbox for their price increases because obviously there's other factors there. But also at the same time, like, I don't want to hear this like, oh, PlayStation's still losing like $200 per PS5. I don't want to hear that shit because they're a multi-million fucking dollar company. They can lose that because they're gonna make it back in subscription service fees. They're gonna make that back in game sales. They're gonna make that back in every other way that you can possibly think of. So don't pull out the violin and start playing it for these companies, because at the end of the day, even if they're losing $200 or whatever on a console sale, they're going to make that money back in other ways, and they know that, and you know that, and there's no reason to defend them for that. But at the end of the day, the main culprit here is, of course, AI stealing those processors and whatnot, which there's really not much we can do right now about that, but hopefully soon there'll be some extra regulations on that, but we'll see. Anyway, let's move on to some more news. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a short one, I think. The next title for the next Kingdom Come game was accidentally leaked due to Czechoslovakian rating systems, releasing the new trademark title of Kingdom Come Salvation from Warhorse Studios. Now, if I remember correctly, Kingdom Come Salvation is supposed to be a more arcade, maybe a more basic and shorter game compared to Kingdom Come 1 and 2. But the name is fine. Like, I don't have anything to say about the name. I really wish that we would maybe see something about this sooner rather than later, because I don't really have anything to say about this. People are suggesting that we could see the game shown off at Gamescom this year, which does seem likely, especially if they are already well on their way on working on it. And if it's a shorter game, it's going to take a little bit less time to develop than Kingdom Come 2. People also were saying, like, yeah, we know the Lord of the Rings game is coming. We're probably not going to see that for a bit. I feel like that is something that they literally just started working on. But yeah, I am excited to see what they're going to do next. If you don't remember, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was one of my favorite games the year that it came out. I really immersed myself in that game. It was a very, very fun time, and it was a good time as well. Regardless of the developers themselves, the CEO was like kind of an asshole or whatnot during the Game Awards. But yeah, there you go. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, not Deliverance 2, Kingdom Come Salvation is the name of the next game, and that will be coming whenever. We don't know when, but whenever. I'm going to guess it's going to be within next year. I feel it's going to come next year. All right, next up. Coming soon. It's Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Nintendo Switch Edition. Everyone is very excited for this. Everyone is very, very excited for this. Here's the overview of the stuff coming to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on July 30th, 2026. There will be 60 FPS gameplay, 4K resolution in TV mode, full HD in handheld mode. In-game cutscenes have also received a makeover with enhanced resolution, improved frame rate, and visual details. Also, there's new outfit designs for both Pyra and Mithra. The designs will carry over from Adventuring 2 cutscenes. Added to this, a new Merc Assault mode, and also a new thing called Xenosaga Throwback, which will have a new rare blade MOMO. In a press release, they said, join Rex and Pyra as their search for paradise, now enhanced for Nintendo Switch 2 system. The Nintendo Switch 2 edition of this game will feature improved visuals, smoother and sharper cutscenes, new outfit designs for Pyra and Mithra, and more. Control up to 6 blades directly with new Merc Assault mode and discover MOMO, a new rare blade who can swap between light and dark forms. So I'm guessing the name of the sword is Momo, which, like, pretty badass, dude. I don't know. How excited are we for this game? Yeah, I'm not a Xenoblade fan. I've never played the games, but if you are a fan and you want these and you want these new outfits for Pyra and Mithra, there you go. They are they know what they're doing over there, I suppose. So here's Momo, new blade. So are the blades like waifu women? Like, is that what I'm getting at? Is that what I'm seeing here? The different weapons are like different women. I don't know who this guy is on the right. Like you have I don't know, anime waifu girl, you have like cat girl, you have big booby anime girl, you have elf girl, and then you have like demon robot. Demon robot guy. So yeah, once again, these editions of the Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will come out July 30th. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will get a physical edition October 2026. Also, the game recently got an update on the Switch, bumping it up to version 3.0, which is probably in preparation for this version. Yes. $60 for each game. Yeah, that it is a bit of a steep price tag. Yeah, $60 per game. They should really put like a bundle out. I would say Switch. I mean, Xenoblade 1 and 2 should probably just be bundled together for like $60. But that's just me. All right, more coming soon. Which I guess I didn't have to play that again. So there is a collection of games coming from Joe Richardson, who was the mind behind games like Procession the Calvary and the and Death of the Reprobate. I believe that this collection is being released on both Switch and PlayStation, and I think Xbox as well. But this is the guy who makes these funny like Renaissance painting games. Now, I do own Procession to Calvary, and I've wanted to play it for so long, but I never got around to it because I don't know why. I just never got around to it. It's full of whimsy and fun commentary and jokes and stuff like that. So this collection of games will be releasing on August 27th, and all three games will come with various improvements or enhancements, including I guess they're fully remastered games featuring unified user interface across the trilogy, deleted and bonus scenes, and quality of life improvements. So the third game in the collection, which I forgot to mention, was the Immortal John Triptych, right? Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's called Four Last Things. So there's Procession to Calvary, Four Last Things, and Death of the Reprobate. The Immortal John Triptych is the collection, the entire collection. All right, cool. There you go. So if you're interested in that, that will be available, like I said, in August. These games look fun. I think that they, in general, have a very fun, unique art style to them. And it kind of reminds me of Monty Python. I think I've said that before. I probably said that before. Callis, thank you for the resub. 75 montheroonies and cheese. Damn, son, where'd you find this? All right, and finally today for the news and stuff, we have the PlayStation Plus Essential Games for August 2026, and we actually have a decent month here, which is kind of crazy. After last month, I was very disenfranchised with this whole thing. So these games will be available to download on Tuesday, August 4th. So the games are Dying Light 2, Big Walk, and Signalis. So Dying Light 2, not the best of Dying Light games, obviously. I had a lot of criticism for that game when it came out. I never finished it because it was just kind of boring. But it is worth. I think that if you're looking for the deal here, it's a big open world game. It's very open to multiple playthroughs because there's different paths you can choose, etc., etc. So it's a big game, lots of stuff to do there. Big Walk is a day one release for PlayStation Plus Essentials, which is very nice. This is a game that I've been very interested in. It's the game where you play with friends and you walk around, and it's very much wanting you to use proximity chat. That way you're not talking to them through puzzles and stuff like that, because there's things like these soundproof windows and stuff like that where you need to talk to them, or maybe someone's really far away in the distance and they hold up a sign that says help or whatever, right? So that it's a one of those experiences like that. And then Signalis, if you don't know what Signalis is, this is one of those indie horror games that people fell in love with. Now, I never played this one myself, but I've watched a couple reviews on it. It does look very very good. So yeah, Signalis there. I think that's going to be a bit of a indie gem for a lot of people to discover for the first time. Horror game, kind of in the same vein of, it's got like a pixel art graphics and stuff like that, but it kind of has like like an early Resident Evil vibe to it, if I remember correctly. This originally came out in 2022, right before Halloween, right before stinking Halloween. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, I mean, all three of these games I think are worth playing. I don't think there's anything. There's not a single game that I would say is like, nope, that sucks. No, I think all three of those games pretty good to have on the service. Now, of course, I've played Dying Light 2, but Signalis and Big Walk are nice additions for me personally. And my PlayStation Plus auto renewed, so I got them for at least another year. There you go. All right, we are going to move on to some thoughts on two games, at least two games. So we're gonna throw up the first impression screen here. Yeah, I know. I really should add another button for continued thoughts, or hey, I'm still playing this, or something like that. But yeah, I've been playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag. That's kind of been the game I've been playing right now. Even though I'm not super crazy about it. There's some people who are like, "Oh, this is the best Assassin's Creed game in years." I mean, personally, it's it's good. I enjoy it. But there are some things that are just really bugging me about the game. The combat is the biggest one, and I've talked about that in at length last week. But the combat is just not my favorite thing ever. It's a little bit flaky here and there with the timing windows, and there's still stupid things that happen. Like you're stuck between a group of enemies, and you do the takedown button, and enemies can hit you before you do your takedown, and it's like, dude, what the fuck? It's like I work so hard to get some extra takedowns here, and you just take them away from me, having an enemy hit me, and it's like, yeah, I get it, it's more realistic that way, but there's something to be said about the simplicity yet brutality of the original game's combat system, and this just kind of loses that. Where the game really shines, though, is of course the open like sea and stuff like that. They did a great job with that. I have really no complaints about those things. You know, the upgrades to the Jackdaw are practically the same, right? And there's really not much too different with the open areas themselves. It's when you get into those like smaller islands, the smaller islands, the little arpeggios or sand dunes or whatever you want to call them. They're not called sand dunes. They're something else. But those don't have like synchronization points anymore. They don't have checklists for those little tiny islands anymore. And yeah, you know, in the original game, a lot of those were just like home to like a random treasure chest or a treasure map would lead you to that place. And I'm sure that that's what's going to happen with this game too. But I do remember more of those like little islands having a synchronization point or having a checklist for you to do and complete. Whereas now those little islands don't have that. And it's just a little bit like, well, what's the point of like going to this island? Like, there's one island that had an old like destroyed Spanish fort on it, and I thought like, oh, there has to be something here, right? And maybe there will be a treasure chest that I find there eventually in the future. But for the most part, it was just those gold treasure chests that have like resources in them, and like a couple of those stupid abstergo point things. And it was just like, it was just kind of like a little bit disappointing. Like, Edward even had a special dialogue for when you got to the top of the fort and found the guy trapped behind a gate. He was like put in prison on the fort, and he just kind of died there because everyone abandoned the fort. And he had a special line of dialogue there. And it's like, what's the point of having this dialogue here? What's the point of having this island here in general if there's just really nothing here to do? And like I said, it's possible that there will be a treasure chest to find on the island eventually. But I found, you know, when I'm exploring the open world, I kind of just stop wherever I want to stop, and I kind of like do my little like ping, 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 go to different places. And it's a little bit annoying that some of these places are just like not as fleshed out as I was hoping they were going to be. Because the original game, they were, you know, they had the checklist going on and stuff like that. I do still woefully miss the mini map in the corner of the screen. I think the compass is fine for immersion's sake, but for practicality, I would rather have the mini map. And then I also complained about this last week, but the fact that the treasure maps are so difficult to pull up, or there's so many steps to pulling up a treasure map, just kind of like ruins the quickness of the original game's treasure hunt. So instead of like pulling up the map, adjusting yourself, pulling up the map again, you know, to pull up the map, you have to like press pause, go to the animus, and then, you know, click on the treasure maps, then click on the treasure map you want, but then reload the map section, and then click on the treasure map again, and then zoom in, and then yeah, it's like you have to do that every single time. You can't just press triangle or whatever to bring up the map willy nilly, which is annoying, and I find that very annoying. But you know, they really didn't change much of anything with the quests or the story mode. They've added in new quests for the new crewmates you can get. So the one girl, she like allows you to do like a perfect brace against cannonball fire on your ship, and that helps reduce damage and stuff like that. And then there's also a pastor that you pick up who is like he allows you to have like the, what's it called, the ram charge, which you press like both L1 and R1 at the same time, and you charge with the ship, which was actually, I believe that was something from Rogue, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe that was in Black Flag. You would just ram into people at high speed in Black Flag, but then I believe the ram charge was a part of Assassin's Creed Rogue. So you know, they brought something over there. They didn't bring reverse boarding in or whatever, but you know, I guess you can't have everything. But yeah, for the most part, I am enjoying the game, and I've been playing it for a couple of hours here and there. It's really the only game right now that's kind of like gotten me to play for long periods of time. Like, I do like Splatoon, and I do like Dench Attack and stuff like that. But right now, I'm just kind of not feeling anything. Not really feeling playing much of anything lately. But at least with Assassin's Creed, it feels a bit like home. Because if you, as I mentioned last week, you know, Assassin's Creed Black Flag was Game of the year that came out. I believe it was 2014. That was before I was doing content or anything like that, but it definitely was my favorite game that year. And you know, I still feel that to this day. I still feel like this game is very good. Is it going to be Game of the Year this year? No, it's not going to be Game of the Year this year. I personally don't find that there's enough changed about this game to make it like a Dead Space scenario where it gets put on a top 10 list. But also at the same time, I don't think the game is good enough to be a game of the year. There's things that I've talked about in ad nauseum about this game that just kind of irk me. But if you want to look at this game through rose-colored glasses, you can, and you can say it's a 10 out of 10 or whatever. I won't agree with you, but and you could say that it is the best Assassin's Creed game in years, but then you would be ignoring games like Valhalla and Origins and Mirage, which are all good experiences and two fantastic experiences as well. I mean, Shadows is fine, and Odyssey. I feel like Assassin's Creed Odyssey is not good. But there's a lot of other games in the Assassin's Creed series that I think are comparable to this one, and this one's good. Not perfect by any means, but still good. So that is that. Now I actually have some real first impressions here. Do you like dinosaurs? Because boy, howdy do I have a game for you. This game called DinoBlade was just released a couple days ago. It is a dinosaur Souls-like, which is pretty unique in my opinion. This game is made by a single developer, which is pretty crazy. It started out as like a boss rush type thing. I believe the demo that Iron Pineapple played on his channel a long time ago was literally just like a boss rush or whatever. But it's been fleshed out into a full experience, complete with wacky and zany lore, dinosaurs galore, and of course boss fights that are really cool. One of the things I really like about this game is the fact that it feels like a PS3 game. It really does. It has the vibe and the graphic style of what I would expect from a PS3 era title, which is not a detriment to it at all. I feel like it's a bit of a breath of fresh air. It doesn't need to be photorealistic. It doesn't need to be the best graphics ever. This game really does feel fun to not only look at but play to mess around with the controls. So you play as like a Spinosaurus who carries a great sword in his jaws, and of course you, much like any other Souls-like game, you got to whittle down an opponent's exhaustion meter, and then you can take them out. It does have a lot of similarities to Sekiro, funny enough, with perfect parrying and dodging and jumping. So you do have those. It is a bit more, I guess, Sekiro-inspired, but it's still very much just like a Souls, like a regular, like maybe like a Bloodborne type kind of game where you have the one fighting style, and there are multiple swords to get eventually, but it does have pretty much a one fighting style. Yeah, I think it's a very cool game. It's definitely a game that's like, yo, dude, have you checked this game out? It's kind of like one of those games where it's not gonna knock your socks off by any means. I think that in a lot of ways, I'm sure a lot of people will look down on this game simply because it is just a little indie, goofy dinosaur Souls-like. But there is a lot of work being done under the hood here that really is impressing me. I mean, the environment itself and the dinosaur designs themselves are very good, and the combat is actually pretty flowing. Like you can kind of get into a groove here, much like you can with Sekiro. And I did beat the first official boss in one try. Thank you for noticing. And the cool thing is that you then, after you beat the dinosaur, you get like their soul. It's almost like solo leveling in a way where you take his soul and you can have him help you in battle by like just kind of appearing out of nowhere and doing an attack, which is also very, very cool. The open world itself is set up much like any other Souls-like game. You have save points that you go to that respawn enemies. You have a limited number of healing flask uses, I would call it. You obviously have a stamina meter and magic meter and whatnot. But the cool thing about this game, too, is the fact that if you do a perfect parry, your sword becomes on fire, and you can hold down left trigger to do a charge attack and then a ranged attack to chip away at some dinosaur health. Also, if you get the exhaustion meter down all the way, you'll do a finishing move or a critical blow to a boss, and these are unique animations that are very cool. So instead of using the sword to take out a dinosaur, you'll use the jaws of the Spinosaurus to take it out. Or if you're fighting the boss, you'll have like this little kind of mini cutscene play that'll have like the dinosaurs clashing in midair and you coming out on top. There was also I don't know why it happened, but I had to mash any key. It said press any button, so I just kind of mashed any button. I'm using my controller for this, and I guess maybe the other dinosaur had like a special attack or whatever that it used to get me locked into that. But I matched fast enough and I was able to get out of that. So it's not like it wasn't really that big of a deal. I'm sure it will come up more later on. But yeah, the cool thing was getting the enemy dinosaur boss down in terms of stamina to being exhausted and then doing like a fatal blow. Like it took off a huge chunk of damage, which I was like, "Oh shit, okay." One of the ways that this is not a Souls-like game, though, is the fact that as you kill dinosaurs, you do level up, and you don't need to worry about dying and losing progress. You'll just kind of keep your XP, which for a lot of Souls-like players, that's going to be a bit disappointing. But I don't need something like that for a game like this because that it's going to be a little janky. It's going to be a little bit weird. It's probably going to have a few little glitches here and there, right? So I would rather the game not punish me severely for dying, especially because I feel like I'm going to probably run into maybe a glitch or two here or there, like just normal things that you get from any video game experience. But so far it's been a fun time. I feel like I'm really kind of vibing with the combat style, and I do like what the how the world looks and how the levels are laid out. And I think that the dinosaur boss fights are going to be epic and sick, and I'm going to be very happy to play more of this game eventually down the road. But yeah, as of right now, though, I would give it a thumbs up. It's cool. It's a cool game. I think it's perfect for dinosaur lovers, but it's also probably a pretty good game for in general if you just like action adventure game, not adventure game, but an action game. Maybe compare it to something like Sekiro or even Devil May Cry if you so desire. It's one of those games that has a few different inspiration points. But at the end of the day, it is a pretty unique experience. It's got a unique style to it. It's got a unique combat to it, and it also is just a kind of unique setting for a game as well. Being in the prehistoric era, playing as a dinosaur with a sword in its mouth. I mean, it's just cool. It's just cool. So yeah, if you want to check that out, it's available on Steam for like less than $20. It's a pretty nice price tag for this one. And yeah, I would at this point I would recommend it. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this episode. We do not have a question today, and as usual, I did not have time to make Jeopardy this week. I do plan on bringing it back. But I have not been in the right mood for doing that kind of work right now. But I do appreciate everyone for stopping by the show today. Extra thanks to Callus for the resub. But yeah, I mean, if y'all have been playing games recently, enjoy those. And if you haven't been playing games, let me know what you've been doing, whether it be in the Discord or in chat. I should be back tomorrow to play a game on stream. I don't know what it's going to be, but I will probably most likely play a game. And if you want to keep up with my schedule and the happenings on my channel here, if you join the Discord, there's an announcements tab that pretty much anything. If anything's going to happen, it'll go there. Ferris64 stuff has its own announcement channel, uploads channel. You can suggest topics for the podcast, whether they be just off the wall type things, or if you have a news article that you think is really, really interesting, you can put it there, because a lot of times I will be curating news articles. I'm not going to use everything that I curate, but if there's something that shows up in that channel, yeah, I'll definitely make more of an effort to add it to the list of stuff. You can also ask a question for the podcast. I try and do one every week if we have them, and then you can also just suggest Jeopardy topics, which is like kind of fun. But yeah, like I said this at the beginning of the show, this one's going to be a bit short because there really wasn't much going on this week. I mean, I really tried to milk the topics as much as I could, folks. It didn't really work out that to be longer. But sometimes you need a bit of a shorter episode. Why not? Just do a little bit of a shorter episode. But yeah, that's going to be this one this week. If you missed the show or if you want to check it out, there's also the upload on Spotify. The YouTube live stream will be available pretty much exactly when this is done. If I forget, it's the next day. But yeah, I also try to remember to make it available on Twitch as well, Twitch VODs, and those are only available for 30 days. I am not saving any VODs anymore. You can still, subscribe to the VODs channel if you want, but I'm not really uploading anything there anymore. Just doesn't seem that important. But yeah, thank you so much once again for joining me on this live show experience. I will be back next week, and we'll see if there's some big news in the works. But as of right now, I am Yummy the Ferret, and I am out of here. Have a good rest of your week, and I'll probably see you tomorrow. If you're seeing Spider-Man, have fun.
Bye,
So long.
bitch!